Friends, we are live. Welcome to CFLW, the show for this Monday, May the 5th. Hubbly Rusty with you here. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we're going to be talking about what's going to be an active late afternoon into the evening hours for portions of Central Florida. We'll get into what's going to be just a much more active pattern for us here, trying to get us some of that absolutely needed rain across our area. Hope you guys are doing well on this Monday afternoon. As always, CFLW, the show, is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They are hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover anywhere across the state, offering free consultation and policy reviews. Anything that can impact you or your property. So think hail damage, hurricane damage. You've been in an auto accident. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. You go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Let's first of all recap yesterday. How much rain did you guys get? Let me know in the comments section below. Good to see you, Kevin. Good afternoon from the Lakeland area. You know, we had just what the doctor ordered yesterday. We had widespread moderate rain. Right? Never got the redevelopment of the potential severe storms late yesterday afternoon, which is what I was monitoring. Never occurred. So we had very beneficial, steady rain seep into the soil, help us out as much as possible. I was going back on my Facebook page. Some areas had about, a tenth of an inch of rain to a quarter of an inch, but there were some areas that had more than a half inch to an inch plus. I was one of those areas that had about a half inch of rain yesterday. Kevin, or Garrett, good afternoon to you. How you doing? Hi, Mary. How you doing? Good to see you there. Praying for rain in Melbourne. I'm with you, Mary. And the good news is that Melbourne and the East Coast is one of the areas that I'm favoring for a slightly better chance for some rain here in the next couple of days. So we'll get into kind of what's happening right now. And again, drop in the comments section below. Let me know what has been happening in your area. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Do me a quick favor while you're down there. Thank you for liking the video as well. All right, on this Monday, you notice that we have a weak stalling frontal boundary right across I-4. This will help to be a focusing mechanism for showers and storms that will be developing later in the day. You can clearly already see on this visual satellite imagery that we're beginning to see some cloud coverage develop across the area here. Temperatures at the 1 o'clock hour are mainly in the low to mid 80s. We've got a couple of spots like Daytona Beach in at 79. It's warmer down to the south right now. The Winter Haven, Lakeland area 88, 82 in Claremont, 84 in Orlando. Ocala coming in at 82 degrees as well. When we take a look at the winds that are currently into play right now, we'll have some gusts trying to develop here. Some of this will be out of the east, but we'll also have a little bit in the way of some kind of north to northwest winds near and to the north and west of this boundary. This again is going to allow showers and storms to develop off of that old cold front that came through yesterday with our morning round of showers. Right now, some of that activity was a little bit more prolific down to our south, but we're going to get that opportunity here. When we take a live look to the radar, out of the Melbourne area right now, we're still basically dry. We haven't developed these showers yet. We've got a couple of showers off of the Flagler County coastline and a few dots of rain just trying to move on shore with the east breeze, southern sides of Volusia, northern sides of Brevard County. Look, it's not going to be much as of this point in time. Little shower just trying to develop on the west side of Lake Apopka towards Montverde and Mineola. So already, there's a little bit of a bubbling, a little bit of the gurgling, if you will, of the atmosphere today. And I got to tell you something, it does really look like we have kind of flipped the switch in some ways to break this drought pattern that we've had. We're going to have some active weather for us here over the next several days, and we'll talk about that coming up. Again, appreciate Garrett, Kevin, and Mary chiming in. Mary, hopefully we'll get you some showers in your area. Again, let me know in the comment section below how much rain you got yesterday. We still need a lot more, but we don't want to get 3 to 4 inches in one day. That's not going to do us much good. I mean, it'll help out a bit, obviously. It's better than being dry, but we want that nice, light soaking showers across the forecast. So again, right now, we continue to be in a holding pattern until later this afternoon. But I do want to start kind of talking about how this is going to be breaking down. Now, in just the past hour or two, the Storm Prediction Center has actually upgraded a part of our area for the opportunity for some severe storms later. All right. This is going to be one of those days where it is going to be split here in Central Florida. right? Not everyone is going to have the opportunity for showers and storms. Some of us will have the opportunity for more than likely non-severe showers and storms. And then a part of our area will have the greatest chance to have some severe storms and the potential even for an isolated tornado. That is not out of the question later today. So again, if you guys are tuning in on the live version of this, I appreciate that. If you guys are tuning in on the recorded version and you're watching this before Monday evening, again, we're getting you prepared for what could be some active weather across Central Florida later today. So the SPC risk, your light green, which goes through, St. Augustine area into Marion County, most of Lake County and areas west, that's a general thunderstorm risk. More than likely, we're not going to get any severe storms. You get as far north and west as, western sides of Marion County into Citrus County and Crystal River and into Levy County, we may not even get any rain. These showers and storms will start to develop across the I-4 corridor and then work their way south and east through the late afternoon, early evening. And as they do so, they're going to be picking up some energy, hitting the East Coast sea breeze and allowing those storms to get stronger. Our green, darker green area is our 1 out of 5 from the SPC. That's a marginal risk for severe storms. I believe that we could see some isolated severe weather in portions of Flagler, Volusia, into Citadel, Orange, Osceola, in the eastern sides of Polk County later today. Now, what will probably happen in those areas, and of course we'll take a look at all the models as well coming up, is that these storms will begin to fire right along or just west of I-4, and as they dive south and east, they'll become more prolific, they'll get stronger and stronger. And then it is really the far eastern sides of Orange and Osceola, pretty much all of Brevard and Indian River counties for the best opportunity for severe weather later this afternoon through the early evening hours on this Monday. That would include Titusville, Port St. John, the Cape, Merritt Island, Vieira, Sharp, Satellite Beach, Palm Bay, Melbourne, Mickle, Barefoot Bay, to Indian River shores, even down towards Yeehaw Junction there on the Turnpike. Far eastern sides of Osceola County. Orange County wise, we're even to the east of Wedgefield here. But again, we could get some storms rocking and rolling later today. This is the overall risk. And again, kind of the farther south and east that you go, that risk carries all the way down towards the Miami, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale areas as well. How you doing, Linda? Linda, where are you again? You're in Brevard County, I know that. But the answer is yes. More than likely there will be. So this is the overall risk from the SPC, but we can get into the specifics of the potential. So we'll start off with the tornado potential, okay? Now, it's in the green, right? This is the lowest risk, but it's not zero, all right? I think it's an isolated tornado threat at best. I'm hoping that we don't get a lot of spin with these storms. What can happen in this situation is that these storms move offshore. They encounter that less friction along the Atlantic waters, and we get some water spout activity, but moving away from the coast. Again, movement of storms today will be from northwest to southeast. So these storms aren't going to be moving onshore. They'll be pushing offshore. And as they do, we could spin up probably some, water spout activity. That doesn't mean, though, for, the Banana River and the Indian River crossing over towards Merritt Island and the Cape, and some of the barrier islands, that we couldn't get something squirrely to spin up there as well. It's an opportunity. That's why the SPC has highlighted this in green. Now, this does not include I-4, right? So technically Orlando and Kissimmee, Altamont Springs, Sanford aren't included in this, but we're close. Again, I would favor the I-95 corridor for any potential isolated tornado later today. That's not the overall widespread biggest threat, but again, it's not zero. The hail threat, there's an opportunity here. In the dark brown, you're going to have the low end hail threat, right? And when we're talking about the potential hail sizes, I think we're still more than likely in the coin size hail. Don't expect that to probably change as far as, what we could see. Could get some pea-sized hail, might get some dime-sized hail, maybe up to penny and nickel. I hope we don't get quarter. When you start getting into quarter, you start talking about the potential for some actual destructive hail, but it's the coin-sized variety. Now, this brown is the lowest marker from the SPC. You get into the yellow, it's a slightly better chance. It's the same scenario. They're favoring the same areas for all modes of severe weather today, and it's the far east side of Orange, Osceola, into Brevard, and Indian River counties. Again, north and west of I-4, no real severe weather threat risk. Maybe an isolated storm, Lake County, inland Volusia, portions of Flagler, but hopefully all that pushing offshore relatively quickly. That's the hail threat. The wind threat is going to be your probably most widespread potential, okay? You know, it's all still in the lower end, but you got to get 60-mile-an-hour winds to have a severe thunderstorm warning and or inch-size hail. Got to have one of those two criteria. So more than likely, these storms will be pushing some winds of up to and above 60 miles an hour and maybe some half-inch to at most inch-size hail, all right? It's not the biggest threat in the world today, but I want to be clear that earlier this morning, the East Coast was just under the marginal 1 out of 5 risk. So there's a little bit more juice in the atmosphere here that we've seen from some of the recent model data to punch up the opportunity for severe storms in Brevard and Indian River counties. That's the overview of what's going to be happening later today. Let me get back over to the chat. Hi, Farrah, how you doing? Linda's in Titusville. Yep, Linda, so you are under that 2 out of 5 risk for today, right? It's a scale, goes from 1 to 5. The yellow means that there will more than likely be some severe weather, may not be extremely widespread, but the opportunity is there, and for what we just discussed, no doubt about it. Kevin says he got some rain yesterday morning in Lakeland, but not much. Hey, Blue Goose, how you doing? 85 degrees, a little 48% humidity there in St. Augustine, beginning to cloud up a bit. Yeah, I mean, we started off with a little bit of sunshine for today, but again, that boundary, which is currently into play here, let me get back over to bring on the infrared satellite imagery this time around. You know, we're starting to see, again, a little bit of energy kind of pick up right along that boundary. Now, a little bit farther south, towards the northwest Bahamas, they're actually seeing already some showers and storms, and we're just beginning to kind of bubble things up just a little bit as well. Excessive rain chance, nothing from the SPC as far as that goes. Again, we don't really want to see excessive rain, although we're in a drought. We want the nice steady rain. Unfortunately, that's not going to be essentially the case for today. We've got to watch out for the severe weather as well. We're going to take a look at the timing of this, Blue Goose, in just a second. We'll take a look at the HRRR model here for you guys as well. You know, I got you covered on that. But before we get into that, we've got to take a look at our cameras, right? Let's get into that. So we're looking from Lake Conway here near the downtown Orlando area. We're looking back off to the east. You can clearly see there's a little bit more vertical development to the clouds for today, a little bit higher bases as well. Again, so we're getting a little bit of lift already in the atmosphere. Generally speaking right now, still fair weather, but as the east breeze kicks in and we have that boundary in place over I-4, you know, those are the mechanisms to fire up the storms later today. But eventually the west coast sea breeze and the west to northwest wind will win out and push these storms again back towards the east coast. A little bit of a breeze there in Conway. We're going to get some 10 to 15 mile an hour winds from time to time, a little bit higher gusts. Live look outside to the Winter Garden area. This is in the western side of Orange County. Again, this camera is looking off towards the west. And as Blue Goose mentioned, we're beginning to cloud up across the area. It doesn't really matter where you are. You're probably seeing a little bit more cloud coverage than what you had earlier in the day. Again, a little shower in Lake County west of this camera. And I'm not going to rule out the opportunity for a couple of showers just to kind of crop up in very isolated fashion over the next hour or two. But the main show, when it develops, won't be until much later into the afternoon and even into the early evening hours. But again, pretty common sight across interior sections of Florida where we have mostly cloudy skies. Live look outside to the Walt Disney World area. Again, this camera just 1 mile for the Magic Kingdom. We're looking back to the south towards the Magic Kingdom and the Disney property. Same situation here. Again, relatively cloudy skies, gray, no real rain, not a lot of breeze here as well, which means it's going to get hot from time to time. And again, you guys can take a look at the live conditions in your area here, scrolling on the bottom of your screen. Those update in real time as we get new data coming in. Good to see you guys. Again, appreciate you guys taking a quick second and liking this live stream. Thank you for subscribing to the channel if you haven't as of yet. Again, this is a live only channel. I come on Monday and Fridays at 1 o'clock to kind of get you guys prepared for the week and to get you guys prepared for when I next see some active weather. It just so happens to be at the next potential for active weather, and we're desperate for rain, but we don't want the storms, but that will come, unfortunately, hand in hand potentially later today. So let's talk about kind of the overall pattern here, and then we're going to get into the model data. I'm going to go over to the broad view. All right, look at this massive area of low pressure spinning over the Tennessee Valley. All right, and these are wind gusts in miles an hour, by the way. Thankfully, not temperatures this time of the year, but I'll bring back over these temperatures. But the thick cloud coverage, keeping temperatures there in the 50s. Now, in a general sense, we have what we call an omega pattern in play here over the United States, or what's called an omega block. Do you guys know the Greek letter omega? You've got a trough out west, the ridge in the central United States, and a big trough out east. So it looks like the Greek letter omega, or like you're on a roller coaster, right? You got the dip, you come up over the central United States, and then you got the dip in the east. It means that we're going to have active weather out west, active weather out east, a little bit quieter in the central United States, although the southern plains, Texas and Oklahoma, will have some active weather. But generally speaking, we're getting into this omega pattern, and it's a block pattern, which means it can sometimes take a while for it to actually break down. And so we are in store for an active weather pattern through the rest of the week. Now, we'll dry out a little bit beginning tomorrow and into midweek. But when I show you guys the 3-day forecast, you're going to see some rain chances on there. And then we'll probably get even more active weather developing towards the end of the week and into the weekend. So we are going to have multiple opportunities for rain here across Central Florida in the coming days. It's just from time to time. It'll also come with the opportunity for some active storms as well. All right, so let's get into the forecast and how I expect this to break down. Again, for the remainder of the early afternoon hours, a shower or two could absolutely develop. Now, at this point in time, some of the rain is actually trying to kind of march offshore. Once the East Coast sea breeze gets inland a little bit more, these storms will kind of develop and not move much, and then eventually they will kick back to the south and to the east. But it's going to take at least a couple of more hours, more than likely. So let's bring up our HRRR model here, our high resolution rapid refresh. Let me get over to the correct timeline here, and got to actually switch a couple of things behind the scenes real quick. I was looking at all different kinds of data points here before I jumped on. All right, so I'm going to loop this up, and this is going to take us out over the next 48 hours. But I really want to focus on what's going to be happening later today in our area, right? And even areas off to our south and to our east. So how is this going to play out? Well, let's break this down again. 2 o'clock. So as we push in the next hour, still not much. If the first signs of getting some showers and storms to kind of gurgle up here should happen in the 3 to 4 o'clock time frame. Should still be non-severe, should still be very isolated, but that's the first opportunity. You notice that, I'm going to really be focused on I-4 and south and east. Can't rule out some showers up in Ocala in the villages, but where that boundary is in play right now, that's where I expect the best chance. And again, these storms will be pushing off towards the east. As we get to the drive home time, a little past 5 o'clock, we're going to start to kind of see these storms get a little bit more organized, get a little bit more widespread. So Kissimmee, Orlando, Altamont Springs, Oviedo, Sanford, and especially east I-95, southern Volusia, and into Brevard County. So Titusville, Merritt Island, Port St. John, Indian River City, Satellite Beach, Palm Bay areas. That's kind of the initiation. By 6 o'clock, this is the HRRR model, pushes it even a little bit further to the east, as we mentioned, right? But because the East Coast sea breeze is engaged, as these storms slam into this, notice that the HRRR model in just a 1 hour jump from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock really blows things up, okay? Certainly could see some storms still developing close to I-4 here, but again, still favoring I-95. I think we get as far north as Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, as kind of the north end of where I would expect the storms to potentially be severe. Doesn't mean we couldn't have some stronger storms into Flagler County towards St. Augustine area, but generally speaking, we're south of I-4 here, the intersection there. And again, you can see these storms now. Anywhere that you see these dots right here, that's high reflectivity, more than likely some hail cores, and the opportunity again where we could get a little bit of some spin in the atmosphere, right? So this is the first real active potential. It's still somewhat conditional, right? I thought we'd have more storms tomorrow afternoon, but everything looks to be coming together for a more active late afternoon and into the early evening hours. But it's not all of our area. It is along I-4 in south and east. And here's 9 o'clock, 8:45, 9 o'clock. And again, these storms could be lingering through the 9 to 10 o'clock hour and beginning to wane out and lose some energy. Once we lose the heat of the day, it's very classic, we should see the intensity of these storms coming in. But from about the 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock hour, there is the opportunity to get some severe storms here, especially along our East Coast. Brevard, southern Volusia, Indian River County, potentially eastern sides of Seminole, Orange, Osceola counties as well. All right? And that's how the HRRR model plays it out. Now, as we get overnight into tomorrow, we're going to fire up a few more storms for your Tuesday afternoon. These should be a lot more isolated in nature, all right? But this time, if they do get going, they might be right over the I-4 corridor. So we might be talking more about the Orlando metro area tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. The intensity of the storms for your Tuesday shouldn't be as severe, okay? But it's not going to be completely dry. And that's the one decent thing to talk about, is that between now and Sunday, I don't think we're going to have a completely dry day here in Central Florida, all right? So we are beginning to really break the trend of these drought conditions. Obviously, we don't want the severe weather, but sometimes it comes along for the ride with this. But the beneficial rain will be out there. So again, today's severe weather risk looks like this, where we favor the yellow areas, Brevard, Indian River County, Eastern Orange, and Osceola. The risk from the SPC for tomorrow really doesn't exist, at least for right now. It's the light green general thunderstorm risk. Now the SPC, and I've been monitoring them every day, especially as we've gotten more into severe weather season across the country in the spring, they've really upgraded these day of. It's not going to shock me if portions of Central Florida fall under the marginal 1 out of 5 risk for tomorrow. And if we do, I'll create a post. And if there's the reason to come on live, I'll come on live. But I don't expect it to be as intense tomorrow. But there's the opportunity for an isolated severe storm for your Tuesday. And then for Wednesday, again, it's a general risk, the entire state. Active pattern, active pattern, active pattern. Still potentially could see marginal come back in, darker green. By the way, this is just the shading of the map. If you see the TSTM, that just means thunderstorms. When we get to the dark green, you get the MRGL, I believe is what they categorize it as. That's the marginal. But look how widespread this risk is. The SPC is just like, hey, look, there's a good opportunity for storms on Wednesday. But with this omega pattern in play, it allows a lot of energy to creep into the southeast and just keeps us active. And when we pick up our sea breezes, like we have, by the way, going to grab a little drink from my Lean Law mug, my tumbler, it'll be there. So we're back into a more active pattern, guys. No doubt about it. All right, let's break down our city-by-city forecast. We'll start off in Orlando. And again, for Orlando this afternoon, I've got about 30% chance for the storms to develop. Generally speaking, if they're going to develop over the Orlando metro area, Lake Buena Vista, even east, UCF, Lake Nona areas, even Conway, Baldwin Park, anywhere east of I-4, it's going to kind of probably develop in the mid to late afternoon. And more than likely, they'll develop right over Metro Orlando and then move east. So we could probably have some storms gurgling up over Orlando and get more intense as they move away. Again, can't rule out a stronger storm in the Orlando metro area, but probably we're just to the west of that. But tomorrow, we're mainly dry. Again, I showed you the HRRR model developing a couple of showers mid to late afternoon tomorrow. So it's not completely dry. And then we just get into a more active pattern overall. Wednesday, Thursday, it's a 40% chance for showers and a few storms. That looks like summertime, doesn't it? Temperatures creeping up to around 90 degrees in the afternoon hours and morning lows beginning to not fall back below 70 degrees. Again, we've activated the sea breezes. We're both going to have the west and the east coast sea breeze in play the next couple days, but there's a lot of mid and upper level energy to help support those sea breezes to provide us the shower and storm chance. but it's good to see that. So 20 tomorrow, which means there'll be many dry hours and locations across the area here in Orange County, Citadel County, Osceola County, Lake County, places like that. But there's an opportunity, and then a better chance as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. For St. Pete, you go farther west, you're going to be drier overall. I don't have any rain in the forecast for tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower late today, but there's not as much rain along our west coast. So from Citrus County all the way back down towards Manatee and Sarasota, we're going to have a drier forecast the next couple of days. The west coast sea breeze will push those storms inland, and they'll be developing either across I-4 or east. So you get the forecast. It's a gorgeous forecast. An isolated storm is possible Wednesday, Thursday, but again, they're not going to be widespread. Daytime highs in St. Pete will be in the upper 80s, and morning lows will be in the lower 70s. We'll go to Melbourne. Again, an isolated shower or storm chance in the Melbourne area for tomorrow, but today I've got a 60% chance for those storms. And again, any storms that develop in the Melbourne, Palm Bay area will have the opportunity to be severe. Your main threat is going to be some winds of 60 miles an hour and some quarter to half inch size hail, the coin size hail. Hopefully we don't get up to the inch size hail, and an isolated tornado risk. It's a low risk for an isolated tornado today, but it's not zero. All right. Tomorrow will dry out. It'll be breezy, 86 the daytime high, and then again we're back to a more scattered shower and storm chance. I think there's a bit more juice in the atmosphere on Wednesday, where we could get a few storms in Melbourne on Wednesday, and then probably just scattered rain on Thursday. Still could be an isolated storm, a rumble of thunder here or there, but probably just some scattered rain developing here in the afternoon hours. Daytime highs in the mid and the upper 80s, morning lows in the lower 70s. And then on over to Daytona Beach. It's about the same forecast for Melbourne, sans what I expect today. I expect a lower chance for storms up there, especially severe storms. Mostly sunny, beautiful day tomorrow, an isolated shower there in the coastline of Volusia County, 85 the daytime high. Scattered storms on Wednesday, scattered showers on Thursday. Both days give us about a 40% chance for showers and storms, with daytime highs in the mid, a few upper 80s out there. Gorgeous, 66 the morning low tomorrow, a bit of a north wind to kick off the day, and then morning lows on Wednesday, Thursday, right around 70 degrees. Let's get back over to the chat. Blue Goose, about 1/10 of an inch yesterday. That's about the lowest that I've heard Blue Goose. A couple of folks on my Facebook page had about the same, but I also had some folks talk about getting more than an inch of rain. So it was, of course, it's always going to be area dependent here in Florida. But that being said, at least we had the kind of rain that we needed out of yesterday. And that was the widespread moderate rain with not a lot of risk for any severe weather. So again, we're already starting to see some of the clouds billow up across the area. Look at, when you get south of this boundary, by the way, let me put this boundary back on real quick. So there it is, highlighted by my map. So what we're really looking at is, go back over here to the main timeline and pause it. What we're really looking at is that this boundary sags a little bit farther south, puts it right over I-4. We got a little bit drier air north and west. We got a little bit more juice south and east, and with the aid of the East Coast sea breeze, that's why we're favoring these areas. But look right now, Bartow, Lakeland, on over towards Brandon, already at or above 90 degrees. Zephyr Hills in at 86. Contrast that with Daytona Beach, right? Pretty thick cloud coverage there. They have a bit of an easterly breeze outside right now. Ormond Beach, 81. Daytona coming in at 79. It's that east breeze. DeLand right now, 86, but it's a southwest wind. We can clearly see where the sea breeze has marched inland, right? East winds, Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna, DeLand, southwest wind. All right. And again, as that east breeze hits this boundary, that's where the storms will develop. But eventually, if you notice in Ocala, they are going to have a west wind, and these storms will be pushed back west. So it really, I think the most curious part, or the most interesting part, is exactly where these storms form. Can the sea breeze march far enough west where they develop a little bit west of I-4 to develop a little bit later in the day right along I-4, or is it even slightly east of I-4? Regardless, I think the show in town today is going to be, again, southern Volusia, Brevard, Indian River County, maybe the east sides of Seminole, Orange, and Osceola as well. You guys have any specific questions about the forecast? Let me know in the comments section below. Blue Goose says about 13 inches of rain since Milton. We've had, it's area dependent, but we've been running somewhere around 33 to 40% of our rain across Central Florida since the beginning of the year. And really drought conditions have been developing, or drier than normal conditions have been out there since October. This is the latest drought monitor. It's still not going to take the rain that we had yesterday into equation. It's a weekly update. But again, we are into an extreme drought in some of our areas. Ocala, eastern and central sides of Marion, northern sides of Sumter and Lake and eastern Lake, northern Volusia, southern Flagler. There is one more that we don't want to see, which would be an exceptional drought in maroon, but this is the second highest, the extreme drought, the moderate drought for all the areas in orange, including Palm Coast and Orlando and Titusville and Claremont. The yellows are going to be your slight drought, and then your browns are going to be abnormally dry. So there are some areas that aren't technically in a drought, but everyone is drier than what they should be. All right. And so, we're hoping that this pattern really begins to change, because I mentioned it so many times here on these live shows that the deeper we get into May without getting the sea breeze to become active, it really becomes a problem when we're talking about, getting some fire threat to be away. Now on the GFS model, right, you can clearly see we're favoring the areas that I've already mentioned for some of the heaviest rain, but I want to also bring on the HER model as far as that goes too. It's a little bit, I think, better right now in picking up what's going to be happening. So I'm bringing a total precip here, and then we'll bring it out. So on the HER model, I mean, you get the idea. It's pretty simple. And by the way, this is all the way through Wednesday morning. So let me back this out to just tomorrow morning. It's not going to be much different. Again, I don't expect a ton tomorrow, but there's an opportunity for a little bit. But you get the idea that there'll be pockets of heavier rain, right? But very few of those heavier showers will develop along or northwest of I-4. I mean, it clearly is a case that southeast Metro Orlando, Lake Nona towards MCO will have a lot more rain than areas west. But there could be a pocket of heavier rain towards Winter Garden and Ocoee. It's not out of the question. But you can clearly see that the HER model favors the areas that I've already mentioned. And again, it's very typical, right? Some areas will get 1/10 of an inch of rain. Some areas will get two inches of rain. That's how we go in Florida. We can 10 times or 20x numbers very close to each other. But there will be the opportunity for some heavier downpours here, which could equate to at least 2 inches of rain. I think there could be some areas that could get even higher than that in a very exceptional localized way. But that's the opportunity. And as I've mentioned, you go north and west, you go to our west coast, we're drier. This heavy rain chance, by the way, will just follow I-95 all the way down into West Palm towards Miami. So we're kind of on the northern extent of where that opportunity is going to be. Cocoa precip. Again, Blue Goose, we don't look at one number here, but we average it out. So let's say 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches absolutely looks plausible. So you could be in store maybe on the median, right around 1 inch. Again, it just all depends on how it develops, but you could have multiple rounds coming through, maybe one main line, and then a secondary lighter area or even a shower ahead of it. But yeah, certainly Brevard County is the area, including Indian River County, that has the best chance for the widespread heaviest rain. June Park, Melbourne, O'Galley, Malabar, same situation. 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch plus, average it out, probably pretty good inch totals. But even, again, portions of Osceola County are in that same kind of number. Southeast side of Metro Orlando, Eastern Orange County in general. Seminole County, not as much. Lake County and anywhere north as west, not expecting nearly as much rain. So it is very, very area dependent for today. But again, if you're just tuning in, this is the risk for severe storms for this late Monday. Mainly in the areas in yellow, but our darker greens could have the opportunity for an isolated severe storm. And taking a look at the categorical risk for a tornado, lowest categorical risk, but not zero, right? That's the message I want to get out. All modes of severe weather are possible later today. Biggest or most widespread threat will be the winds, 60 plus miles an hour, followed by your coin-sized hail, followed by the opportunity for an isolated tornado threat. All right? Shouldn't be significant, but it's not non-zero. Again, the hail threat is kind of the second category here from the SPC. So the brown is the very low-end hail threat, hail size. Your yellows, you get a little bit more intense. So we could have some hail cores here. Again, same situation, I-95 corridor of mainly Brevard, Indian River counties, maybe far eastern sides of Orange and Osceola. It's possible, Blue Goose. I mean, I think ½ to 1.5 inches, fairly widespread in Brevard County. Some areas will get less than that on the bell curve. Some areas will get more than that on the bell curve as well. Yeah, I hear you, man. Everyone's begging for some, there's no doubt about it. So let's go to our live radar here. Again, I have access to all of the live radars across the country. This is our live look to the Melbourne radar. If you guys see this little green, that's the sea breeze beginning to kick on. Behind the sea breeze, we're getting a few showers to develop right now as we speak towards the Cape. East of I-95 towards Titusville and Mims, developing towards Oak Hill. Here's a nice little shower developing just off the coastline of Ponce Inlet in Port Orange there in Volusia County. And you can kind of just see the moisture bubbling behind the sea breeze. Very, very classic. There is your sea breeze. We talk about it all the time, pushing inland, and behind it, showers will be developing at the hour. So there's some rain right now, already pushing in towards Indian Harbor Beach in Eau Gallie. These are just showers at this point in time. If I take this radar and I loop it up, right, you'll clearly see the sea breeze. It's just a ½ hour loop, but beginning to march in. And it's that boundary as it clashes with that mid-level energy in that other boundary that I put to the north and to the west. So if I bring that back on the map real quick. So once we get the East Coast sea breeze to tap into this boundary, that's when the storms will really begin to fire up later in the day. Okay? Anyone have any specific questions about the forecast? All right. So, I think we've covered this pretty good. Just going to make sure there's no advisories or anything like that that I didn't cover. I see absolutely nothing. So I think we're good as far as that goes too. Okay, so here's the plan. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the weather later today, right? And there's a high chance, it's not a 100% chance, but there's a high chance I'll be back on with you guys live later on this Monday to cover the storms, all right? Especially when they start really getting going as they push towards Brevard County. But again, we could see some severe thunderstorms developing as early as the late afternoon hours and into the early evening. I think the highest time frame is 5 to 8 o'clock. All right, but we'll see how that plays out. But I'll be keeping a very close eye on it for you guys there. Obviously, if for some reason these storms don't become severe, I'll see you guys Monday or Friday at 1 o'clock for the next live show. But I have a feeling I'll see you guys sometime between now and then. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's an overall more active pattern for us here, especially with the opportunity for some severe weather later today. Now, again, if you're watching this in the recorded version, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. If you guys are watching sometime on Monday evening, I might actually be live as well. So make sure you check out for the live tab. This is why I suggest that everyone who watches this channel has the live notifications on. Again, you can have notifications on the channel, but if you just go all, that means anytime I'm live, you will get a notification. And because I don't do recorded video forecasts on this channel, you know that when I'm on, there's a reason why I'm on. Obviously, these Monday and Friday shows are to get you guys kind of prepared for the week, and we talk about the forecast, but you know, today is just kind of setting the stage for what I expect to happen a little bit later in the day. So if you're watching the live version here, you get the heads up, and that's kind of the key and why I do this, to get you guys prepared. Linda says, watch the skies. Hopefully it won't be too bad as well. Blue Goose says you'll be watching. Well, I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. So that's what we'll do for now. We'll say goodbye for at this point in time. But again, the opportunity, and more than likely a high opportunity, to come back on later today. As always, CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, offering free consultation and policy reviews. They're going to walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Again, anything that could impact you or your property. So, hail damage, wind damage caused by storms, they can help you out. If you would like to support someone who supports the channel, you want more information, go to leanonmelaw.com. Again, met Bobby last week. Got the Lean Law tumbler. High quality stuff. Going to be my tumbler now for the live stream, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys as well. All right. Take care. Stay safe. Again, the opportunity to see you guys later today for a live stream covering live storms for you guys here in Central Florida. So we'll just see how it plays out. And of course, you know, even if I don't see you tonight, if there's an opportunity for some storms for tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll post that as well. So guys, make sure you have that notification on, because I might create a post for the channel and you would see that in the YouTube channel as well. All right, friends, until probably later today, you guys take care. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. On the way out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for me as well. Help to support the channel. Friends, take care. See you soon.